A large model Showman'S engine part 2. The engine arrives in my workshop. Just in case you haven't seen part 1 of the series, here's the engine outside of the steam workshop in the yard running on steam. And here's Simon putting it through its paces just to make sure that nothing falls off. Thankfully the engine survived this test, and a few days later here it is in my workshop. I really do like this traction engine. I think my vacuum cleaner has a thing about it too. I like the condition that it's in. I like the age of it. It was built in 1998. And I especially like the fact that it has a copper boiler. The first thing I did was to put the name back on the front of the engine. To say that I'm very happy with this engine is an understatement. I haven't been as happy as this for many years, since I ran over my second ex-wife's foot in the car when we were on holiday one year. I don't know whether it was the pain that was making us shout or the fact that I found it really funny. Happy days. Anyway, back to the traction engine. Here's the flywheel. It's 17 inches in diameter. Yes, 17 inches, which is quite a big flywheel. And here's a small belly tank. There's a good feature with this traction engine. You can isolate the belly tank and just draw water from the bunker tank, which has a working water lifter. But should I run out of water in the main bunker tank, I can open a valve to let the contents of the belly tank replenish the water in the bunker tank. Here's a shot of the business end of the generator. When I first saw this, I thought it was a bit on the big side, but then I looked at a lot of traction engines online, and the size of generators really does vary. One thing that did bother me, which is possibly visible in episode 1, was all the bubbling of the covering on the canopy. So as soon as Simon left, I started the job immediately. I'm going to cure the bubbling on the canopy very shortly. Before that though, I had to remove these sideboards. Originally there was some sign writing on these sideboards, and someone in the past had very crudely painted over the writing. What I propose to do initially is remove these sideboards. They're only held in place with a few wood screws anyway, and here goes the last one. It's looking better already. Now I can take the 2 sideboards outside and sand off all the horrible paint using my power sander. A good feature of my workshop are these 2 opening doors, really big doors. Normally I don't have them open, but after Simon left, it was such a nice day, I left them open for the rest of the afternoon. I mentioned how I got rid of all the bubbling on the roof. It starts with a piece of cotton cloth. I've been into steam engines for quite a lot of years, but also I really enjoy building model aircraft. And during the model aircraft years, I got really good with this old thing. It's called a heat sealing iron. I've turned it up full so it's getting very hot. It's held together with duct tape as well, but it's because it's very old and had a lot of use. A bit like me, I'm held together with duct tape as well sometimes. You have to be very careful with these special irons. It depends on the temperature you need. Here's a word of caution: do not apply these irons direct to the paintwork. If you do that, you will thoroughly spoil the job and you will get a lot of extra bubbles as the paint blisters. In common with a lot of the jobs that I do in the workshop, it's a feel thing, knowing when to withdraw the heat. And after withdrawing the heat, it's very important to make sure that the fabric sticks to the wood underneath, and this is achieved by rubbing the cloth, which is still warm, over the surface. I was very impressed by the quality of manufacture and just the concept of having these in the roof. I don't think for a minute that full-size traction engines have removable roof panels. The design of these is absolutely excellent. You can prop them up or remove them altogether. This is in propped up mode. You can see the rod that props them up. And to keep these rods in place, they clip in to a fitting. As you can see from this clip, it makes it so much easier to get access to the moving parts for oiling. I could do with the checklist because there are a lot of things to do on this engine. I fixed the bubbling fabric on the canopy, and I also repaired this part. Everything I've seen so far is so beautifully made. Look at the attention to detail on these brass parts. The brass screw in the left-hand piece of brass was just rotating freely, and the brass was lifting off the roof. So I removed the screw, drilled the hole deeper, and then using some PVA adhesive and a small piece of dowel, I plugged the hole, then drilled a very small pilot hole into the new dowel, and after that simply refitted the original brass screw, which holds the piece of brass very tightly now. Time for a bit of painting. There will be some painting features in this series because some of the paint does want repairing. Here for instance I'm painting the edge, and here I'm painting the heads of the brass screws of the special fittings which either hinge or lock the removable panels in place. The paint I'm using is HMG Satin Black. This is a really simple job. HMG Satin Black is a perfect match for the old paint. All I have to do is wipe it on all the way along and then wipe it off. This is the maker's plate that's normally bolted to the cylinder, and it's very dirty. But I must stress that I do not want to repaint everything. I don't want this engine to look like a brand new one, because it isn't. And I would really go into obsess mode on this because basically I do like the thing. I find it difficult to keep things interesting because I'm doing a lot of repeat processes in these videos. I have to do, that is the hobby. Often I will show how to do a job in different ways. But this job is very quick and very simple. All I've done is brushed on some white spirit to clean off all the grime, then wiped off the white spirit. I also cleaned up the edges using the polishing spindle, and here I'm finishing off the job with some Brasso. At the bottom of the maker's plate on the edge there's still some rough casting, but I'm just going to leave it because that's the way it is. A good rub with a piece of Brasso wadding, followed by a rub with a cloth, and then the part is ready to fit back to the engine cylinder. But before that I'm going to paint the engine cylinder, using Humbrol gloss black enamel I presume. This standard black enamel has been around for years and it's very good paint. It also seems to withstand a good amount of heat, and the only thing that happens to it is after a while it just goes slightly dull. I will probably paint around the bottom of the cylinder, but not just yet. I only wanted at this stage to paint around the steam chest. And that is it for part 2. There's a lot more to come yet. This is a big engine and it's a big job, and I'm going to love every minute of it. For now though, I'd just like to say stay safe, stay well, thanks for watching, and I hope you found it useful. Please take the time to visit my Mainsteam Models website. Click on the section of the website that says Video Playlists. And by doing that, you will find it very easy to find other videos that you may like to watch.